Welcome to Philadelphia, home of the Super Bowl champions, a young and talented baseball franchise, a hockey squad I know nothing about, and a basketball team with one particular player I'm going to spotlight today, Markelle Fultz. Now, a huge amount of airtime is allocated to number one picks, of which Fultz was one back in 2017, but that has been multiplied because of his shooting woes, a mysterious shoulder injury, and a term that everyone here in the city of brotherly love is aware of, the Yips. With that in mind, I'm here to find out more about a player we forget is only 20 and someone the Sixers are desperate to see succeed. But first, I need to put on a shirt.
Inside the Wells Fargo Center, and if you saw my video from NBA opening night, you'll know that Joel Embiid prepares for a game by watching Rick and Morty. At the same time, his teammate Markelle Fultz is running through his own preparation. Let's take a look.
When he gets the ball, the crowd is going to chant, shoot, 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 and at times he's going to be very reluctant. And then you're also going to see people sag off of him. So right now, I think that Markelle Fultz needs to work on his shot. He has to perfect it. He has to get his confidence up. Where it was incomplete last year is still to be determined now.
Was there ever anything wrong with his shoulder?
You know, I think there was initially. I think he did have something wrong with it, but I don't think it was to the point where he couldn't play basketball. I think there was a mental thing. I think that the 76ers were trying to protect him. You know, because then, you hear about it, all of a sudden his shoulder is cured and he's cleared to practice in December, but he doesn't come back until the last 10 games of the season. So I think it's really more mental than it is his shoulder, than it was his shoulder.
Happy to be joined by the TV voice of the 76ers, Marc Zumoff. Marc, during the Sixers home opener, what was going through your mind when the fans screamed when Markelle Fultz hit his first career three?
Max, I have to say this. The one thing that I saw in that game that I don't think I've ever seen, and I've been part of the NBA scene for close to 40 years, is not only the fans cheering him when he just attempted a shot, but almost a standing ovation after he missed, just to encourage him to shoot, to get behind him. I think the fans really want to see him succeed.
But do you think in a way that will affect him? Because he is an NBA player, he's a professional, and they shouldn't really be cheering an attempt.
Well, you know what? He's 20 years old, so there's that big asterisk there. He's really young. He had a very difficult season last year. He worked very hard, Max, over the summer. And I think that anywhere he could find encouragement, and that goes for these guys who've been around 10, 12 years, they have a similar need for that as well. But in Markelle's case, I'd say in particular, it's a good thing.
Were reports, I wrote it, other people wrote it, that he had the yips, and people are like, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what you're talking about. And then when you get someone else say it, it kind of validates it a little bit. So I wasn't really shocked at all. The thing is, I think that Markelle doesn't want it out there, and then during media day he came out and said, hey, me and Drew talked about it, Drew misspoke. Drew didn't misspeak. I believe that that's exactly what it is. Markelle just doesn't want it out there.
I mean, there's not really been a story that I've covered that's like this. It's not often that you see a player who's forgotten how to shoot the basketball. So just the whole saga leading up to this point has been interesting. And then additionally coming out of it, he says that he's confident, and everybody is very happy for him, Brett, the fans. But what we see on the court during the game is not what we're hearing.
Where do you think his head is in comparison to last year right now?
Oh my goodness, it's a lot different. Just the fact that he had a summer working with Drew Hanlon, who is a notable coach of other NBA players. I think he was really bolstered by that, and the fact that his shot looks a lot different. It looks more like the shot that you saw at the University of Washington. So I think his head is in a totally different place, and a better place.
Do you think there'll be a point where he does reveal all about what happened?
I think there will be. But I think that he has to come to it himself. And I think until you really admit to it, then you're not going to get any better. Because he's put in a lot of time and he's shooting the ball and he's working hard, but he just doesn't have the confidence right now. Something is affecting him. And I believe that, that's the reason why. I think mentally something's going on, and that's the reason why he gets the yips. That's the reason why he passes up open shots. But until you address it, it's not going to get any better.
How much has Jason Tatum's success blown this issue up?
I don't think you can help but look at Jason Tatum to think that the Sixers certainly could have had him once they traded for the first pick.
You know what? Markelle is probably, outside of Ben Simmons, he's the second best athlete on the team. And when you get Markelle with the ball in his hands in the open floor and you have two shooters next to him, it's fun to watch.
I think the Sixers felt all along that they had a special player in Markelle, and now they are starting him in order to try to find out exactly what they have.
He looks like a little rookie sometimes, defensively and things like that. But you see the potential. But in order for him to stay on the floor, he has to make some shots. Because he and Ben Simmons, neither one of them are shooters. But one of them has to shoot in order for both of them to stay on the floor. And I don't see them taking Ben Simmons off the floor.
In terms of Simmons' scoring opportunities, what changes specifically when J.J. Redick is on the floor and Markelle Fultz is not?
It's different. The spacing is different. People have to respect J.J. from the three-pointer, so it opens things up for Ben Simmons and it opens things up for Joel Embiid. But then what happened is Ben Simmons, when you have him and Markelle, everyone sags back, and they're preventing opportunities for Ben Simmons to get in the lane in a half-court set.
Now the biggest task is for Brett Brown to kind of learn how to balance that life of growing Markelle Fultz into a full player or deciding to win games.
I think it's a distraction now, but I think that once they go in there and they get into the heat of the schedule, when they start playing good teams and they start losing a couple games and people are saying, hey, what's up with this lineup? We all see it. That's when it becomes a distraction. And then also, as long as, we already talking about J.J. Redick, but Landry Shamet, a rookie who's a pretty good shooter, if he continues to shoot well and Markelle is afraid to shoot, it's the elephant in the room that the team just doesn't want to deal with.
In the last game of the season last year, even though the Bucks really didn't care about that final game, he came off the bench and became the youngest player in NBA history to get a triple-double. So even though things didn't go that well, I think the Sixers are very encouraged by that.
Last one, at what age does Fultz have to have this figured out before he's not in Philadelphia anymore?
They'll probably, they're going to give him an extension, not really an extension, but like your first 2 years, and then they pick up your third-year option. I don't see them not picking up his third-year option. But if he doesn't perform well this year, I can see them trying to trade him or just get rid of him after last year. Kind of like what they did with Jahlil Okafor. It was one of those things, they picked up his option, but he didn't play well, and then they didn't play him, and then, they just traded him.
I mean, I'd like to see him taking, 5 to 7 threes a game. Because, otherwise, if you're not willing to take those shots, then how do people know that you demand any attention on the perimeter as a defense?
This is a vital year for him in regards to, proving what he can do.
As I close out my evening here in Philadelphia, Markelle Fultz remains an absolute mystery to me. Take, for example, that warm-up, shooting threes in the corner with TJ McConnell, and after that one air ball, which was surprising in itself, he started taking catches from his assistant coach and driving to the basket for uncontested layups. That's not going to help in the grand scheme of things. He didn't attempt a three in this evening's game, and that's something that Sarah said, attempt at least 5 to 7 threes every single game, especially when you're starting. If I'm Fultz and I've gone through this summer program with my new coach, Drew Hanlon, I've been working on my shot, breaking it down, and you saw him break it down right at the start of the warm-up. Take more threes, take more deep twos. Even in the warm-up, he doesn't take enough. A lot of it is driving, attacking against the coach and finishing at the basket. That's what he's good at already. He's got the speed, he's got the strength. He needs to take shots to build that confidence. Fans, clearly want him to. Tonight was another example of that. Every time he gets the ball, a lot of people around me shoot Fultz, take that shot. He just doesn't. What we do know is in his lone season at the University of Washington, he shot 41.3% from deep, 52 makes. That is a high number. He only attempted 1 3 last year. It was at the end of a third quarter. In April, the team were up 17 points. He made his first NBA regular season 3 in the second game of this season. Huge cheers, but after that game, most of the talk was about how the Chicago Bulls didn't really guard Fultz. They stepped away from him, and that tactic will continue if he doesn't shoot more. Tonight, he grabbed an offensive rebound, something he's very good at and something I applaud him for, but he had a wide open layup after that and he missed it. Confidence, confidence, confidence. It needs to increase before Brett Brown has a massive headache. He's clearly talented. He's still young. 20, as I say. He only played 14 regular season games last year, only 3 playoff games against Miami in the first round last season, 23 minutes in that series, but he couldn't be trusted in games 4 and 5. TJ McConnell, JJ Redick, Ben Simmons, they get more scoring opportunities, it seems, when Fultz is not on the court. So what do you make of the Markelle Fultz story? Can he become the shooter we saw in college, and does he have a future here with the Sixers? Leave me a comment below, make sure you share the video, subscribe to the channel and click that little bell if you'd like to be notified of new videos. Good night from Philadelphia.